Hello everyone, welcome to day 4 of your Kayla 5-day bag making course. Today is an exciting day. We're going to start putting together our flap, our main body, our lining, as well as our straps. So buckle in. This is going to be quite an extensive video, but I promise you it's going to be easy, straightforward, and you should be able to follow the instructions with no problem. So let's get started. So let's assemble our slip pocket. You should have 2 pieces of lining for your slip pocket. So what you're going to do, you're going to place them with right sides facing. And you're going to pin around, leaving an opening in the bottom. So about a 3-inch opening in the bottom. I'm using different color pins in the bottom, so I'll know where to start and stop. So I'm just going to pin around my slip pocket. I'm going to take this to the sewing machine. I'm going to start at this pin. I'm going to sew around until I get back to this pin. And make sure you backstitch at the beginning and at the end. Now that we have our slip pockets sewn together, what we're going to do, you're going to take your scissors and you're going to clip the corners. Don't go over the stitching, but get as close to the stitching as you can. And you can trim down some of these sides. You don't want to trim too much of the open side because you're going to need that seam allowance to turn in when you attach the pocket to your lining piece. So now what you're going to do, you're going to turn your slip pocket using the opening that you left in the bottom. You're going to turn it to the right side. Poke out your corners. I'm just using my finger, but you can use a point turner or a pen, whatever you have on hand. And after you've poked out all of your corners, take your iron and give this a good press. Make sure you turn in that seam allowance from the opening that you left in the bottom. Alright. So now you're going to take one of your lining pieces, take your ruler, and just find the center. Alright, so find your center and then measure down 2.5 inches. Alright, make a mark. And you're going to take your slip pocket and make sure the opening is going towards the bottom. Just take your slip pocket, and I'm just eyeballing the center, but you can find the center of your slip pocket and place it at that 2.5 mark. Take your pins right, just pin it in place. You're going to take it to the sewing machine and you're going to sew the sides and the bottom, making sure that you sew up this opening that we left in the bottom of the slip pocket. So now that we have our slip pocket sewn to one of our lining pieces, grab your other lining piece, place them with right sides facing, and you're going to pin Now when you get to your darts, make sure your dart legs are going in opposite directions. You also want to make sure that you leave an opening in the bottom of your lining when you're sewing it, because this is what we're going to use to turn our bag to the right side. Alright, so I'm going to sew around, making sure I leave the opening in the bottom of my bag. Now that we have our slip pocket sewn to our lining and we have our lining sewn together, and we left an opening in the bottom of the lining so that we can turn the bag once we're done. Now we're going to go ahead and pin and sew our front pieces. So what we're going to do, you should have two. One has the magnetic snap. You're going to place them with right sides facing. And you're going to pin. And of course, if you're using a vinyl or cork, you want to make sure that you're using clips. Right, when you get to your darts, just make sure you pin them going in opposite directions because you don't want it to be too thick as you're sewing around. Right, and you're not leaving an opening in your main exterior pieces. Right, so you're going to take this to the sewing machine and you're going to sew all the way around. right? Your main body. Now that we have it sewn together, you can clip the edges if you want to. Don't clip too much. I'm just going to clip down here where the darts are, just to get rid of that excess. And I'm going to flip this to the right side. You can give this a press if you like. It's not absolutely necessary, but you can if you like. And now let's assemble our flap pieces. So you have a lining which has the magnetic snap, and you have the front of your flap. You're going to place them with right sides facing. And you're going to take your pins and you're going to pin around the sides and the bottom. You're not going to pin across this top edge because you're going to turn the flap using the top edge. All right, you're going to take this to the sewing machine and you're going to sew around. All right, now let's take our flap, and you can trim some of this down if you like. Don't trim it too much. Trim it down to maybe 1/4 of an inch. Right, and you can even make a couple of little snips in your curve so when you turn this it'll be smooth. So don't go over your stitching, just make a few little clips. So now we're going to turn this to the right side. And you can take your iron and press this just to kind of make it nice and neat. Right, and what you're going to do, you're going to take this to the sewing machine and you're just going to top stitch around your flap. Alright, so now let's take our strap tabs. You should have 2, and you're going to fold them. Right, so this is your long edge. You're going to take it and fold it in half. So you're taking the shorter edges and folding them in half. All right. Then you're going to take one side and fold it towards that crease that you just made in the center and press. And you're going to do the same thing to the other side. And then you're going to fold both pieces onto themselves and press. You're going to do the same thing to the other piece. Take it to the sewing machine and you're going to sew down both sides. Now that we have our strap tabs sewn together, you can go ahead and take your D-rings and you're going to place it through the D-ring and fold it over. And you can go ahead and sew this edge just to hold it in place. So let's work on our strap. So what you want to do, I've already cut my piece. You want to cut a piece that is about 4 inches by 50 or 55 inches. It's up to you. It's going to be adjustable. So I usually do about 50 inches with mine, but you can do up to 55 inches. And I did 4 inches because our hardware is 1 inch. So first thing you're going to do, you're going to fold it in half. And you also want to make sure that you also cut woven interfacing as well, because you want your strap to be very sturdy. All right. So what you're going to do, you're going to fold it in half and press. Once you have it folded in half and pressed, and you're going to open it up and you're going to take one side and fold it towards that crease that you just made, and you're going to press all the way down. Alright, now that you got one side done, I'm just flipping my strap over and I'm going to fold the other side towards the center and press. This works better for me if I start on this end. Right, then you're going to take your strap and you're going to fold the two sides onto themselves and press. Now, before we do that, open up each end of your strap and fold over about 1/4 of an inch. this will help with the raw edge, so you won't have a raw edge on the outside. So all right, so do that to both ends. On the very end, just fold over about 1/4 of an inch. And then press. All right, so that's it for day 4. If you have any questions for me, please let me know by sending me an email at info@legionero.com. I'll meet you back here for day 5, our final day, where we will assemble our final bag and add our strap. I'll see you then.